Hello and welcome to Storytime. Thank you for coming today, especially because it's our birthday, hence the decorations. Last year, I did my first Storytime and I loved it so much. I have continued to bombard you all with stories ever since. And so we're about 52 readings in. And I've really loved it actually, and I've got to share all these beautiful books. As you see every time, you can see a snippet of my little home library there, but I assure you there's books for ages and ages and ages, so I can't wait to continue to share all these extra stories with you all. So obviously I'm not the star here at all, ever, so I'll bring him in. So this is the star of the show, and today Pooh Bear is dressed up in his uniform because we wanted to pay a little tribute to the passing of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who passed away yesterday, for anyone who's watching this on playback. As we know from a previous story time, Pooh Bear has a sideline job down at the palace, and so we thought it was only appropriate that he dressed up for the occasion. And of course, our thoughts go out to the Queen and the rest of the family at this sad time. So, in all sad occasions, it's always nice to bring a little bit of joy. So hopefully our little birthday celebration will be a little bit of joy in these sad times. Now, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has given us a gift through past year. So we have this beautiful mug, which you guys have seen on various occasions, normally sits up the back here during story time and other seasonal occasions as well, and it's a beautiful one of Pooh Bear, and I don't know if anyone's was around to hear what it actually says on it before, but it actually just says, "Let's be friends, nothing warms the heart more like friendship." So that was given by a Storytime friend, my friend Emma, who, and I don't get confused, I didn't give it to myself, but she knows exactly the type of thing that I like, so that's really cool. So we'll keep that there. And I have a Storytime friend, Katie, who made us a beautiful bookmark. I don't know if you can see that, there we go. It says "Once Upon a Time," which she stitched herself, and it's absolutely beautiful. And whenever we do a book that has chapters, we always use our bookmark. So, just one last thing before we get started with the story is, what's a birthday celebration without some cake? So we have some birthday cake. Now obviously, for, obvious reasons, Pooh Bear cannot blow out the candle. So for any children, always get an adult to do this. In my case, I should have asked Taylor to do this. Definitely should not be left alone with that. But just to say thank you to everyone who supported this. I love stories. I'm going to continue to read them. It's just wonderful to have a little audience as well that gets to enjoy them too. And hopefully over this past year we've inspired you to pick up a book and read a story yourself. So from us to you, thank you and happy birthday, Pooh Bear. Nice little picture here. I'll get a little picture for him later in his uniform with the cake. Now on to the big point we're all here for, today's story. So today's story is The Tale of Two Bad Mice by Beatrix Potter. This is the copy we're using. And in this copy, the illustrations are the ones that Beatrix Potter put together herself. So what's really nice about this set, which is the same set that we used for our first ever Storytime book, which was The Tale of Mrs. Teawinkle. So that was pretty cool that we've come full circle. So the inside is all beautifully illustrated as well, which is lovely. So every time there's a picture out, I will put it up for you guys. But this is The Tale of Two Bad Mice by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there was a very beautiful doll's house. It was red brick with white windows, and it had real muslin curtains and a front door and a chimney. It belonged to two dolls called Lucinda and Jane. At least it belonged to Lucinda, but she never ordered meals. Jane was the cook, but she never did any cooking, because the dinner had been brought ready-made in a box full of shavings. There were 2 red lobsters and a ham, a fish, a pudding, and some pears and oranges, but they would not come off the plates. But they were extremely beautiful. One morning, Lucinda and Jane had gone out for a drive in the doll's perambulator. There was no one in the nursery, and it was very quiet. Presently, there was a little scuffling, scratching noise in the corner near the fireplace, where there was a hole under the skirting board. Tom Thumb put out his head for a moment, and then popped it in again. Tom Thumb was a mouse. A minute afterwards, Hunca Munca, his wife, put her head out too, and when she saw that there was no one in the nursery, she ventured out onto the oilcloth under the coal box. The doll's house stood at the other side of the fireplace. Tom Thumb and Hunca Munca went cautiously across the hearthrug. They pushed the front door. It was not fast. Tom Thumb and Hunca Munca went upstairs and peeped into the dining room. Then they squeaked with joy. Such a lovely dinner was laid out on the table. There were tin spoons and lead knives and forks, and 2 dolly chairs, all so convenient. Tom Thumb set to work at once to carve the ham. It was a beautiful shiny yellow streaked with red. The knife crumpled up and hurt him. He put his finger in his mouth. "It's not boiled enough. It is hard. You have a try, Hunca Munca." Hunca Munca stood up in her chair and chopped at the ham with another lead knife. "It's as hard as the hams in the cheesemongers," said Hunca Munca. The ham broke off the plate with a jerk and rolled under the table. "Let it alone," said Tom Thumb. "Give me some fish, Hunca Munca." Hunca Munca tried every tin spoon in turn. The fish was glued to the dish. Then Tom Thumb lost his temper. He put the ham in the middle of the floor and hit it with the tongs and with the shovel. Bang, bang, smash, smash. The ham flew all into pieces, for underneath the shiny paint, it was made of nothing but plaster. Then there was no end to the rage and disappointment of Tom Thumb and Hunca Munca. They broke up the pudding, the lobsters, the pears, and the oranges. As the fish would not come off the plate, they put it into the red-hot crinkly paper fire in the kitchen, but it would not burn either. Tom Thumb went up to the kitchen chimney and looked out at the top. There was no soot. While Tom Thumb was up the chimney, Hunca Munca had another disappointment. She found some tiny canisters upon the dresser labelled rice, coffee, sago, but when she turned them upside down, there was nothing inside except red and blue beads. Then those mice set to work to do all the mischief they could. especially Tom Thumb. He took Jane's clothes out of the chest of drawers in her bedroom, and he threw them out of the top floor window. But Hunca Munca had a frugal mind. After pulling half the feathers out of Lucinda's bolster, she remembered that she herself was in want of a feather bed. With Tom Thumb's assistance, she carried the bolster downstairs and across the hearthrug. It was difficult to squeeze the bolster into the mouse hole, but they managed it somehow. Then Hunca Munca went back and fetched a chair, a bookcase, a bird cage, and several small odds and ends. The bookcase and the bird cage refused to go into the mouse hole. Hunca Munca left them behind the coal box and went to fetch a cradle. Hunca Munca was just returning with another chair when suddenly there was a noise of talking outside upon the landing. The mice rushed back to their hole and the dolls came into the nursery. What a sight met the eyes of Jane and Lucinda! Lucinda sat up upon this upset kitchen stove and stared, and Jane leant against the kitchen dresser and smiled, but neither of them made any remark. The bookcase and the bird cage were rescued from under the coal box, but Hunca Munca has got the cradle and some of Lucinda's clothes. She also has some useful pots and pans and several other things. The little girl that the doll's house belongs to said, "I will get a doll dressed like a policeman." But the nurse said, "I will set a mousetrap." So that is the story of the two bad mice. But they were not so very, very naughty after all, because Tom Thumb paid for everything he broke. He found a crooked sixpence under the hearthrug, and upon Christmas Eve, he and Hunca Munca stuffed it into the stockings of Lucinda and Jane. And very early every morning, before anybody's awake, Hunca Munca comes with her dustpan and her broom to sweep the dolly's house. The end. That was the story of The Two Bad Mice by Beatrix Potter, also illustrated by Beatrix Potter. I really hope you enjoyed that little story time with us. I'm so glad that we got around to being able to share this story with you. I know I've done a couple of Beatrix Potter ones, but I think this one in particular is just so sweet because it's very clever. You do spend quite a lot of the time thinking, oh no, they're just making such a terrible mess and they're just stealing everything. But in the end, you know, they pay for it and they work really hard to show that, you know, they were sorry, but they are keeping the stuff. What I quite like about this one, which hopefully you guys were able to catch, but I know the pictures are really small, is I think one of my favourite pictures is definitely Hunca Munca and the cradle, because if you look really carefully into the cradle, all the little babies are in there, and I just think that's really sweet. And then you see them again when they're being taught how to avoid the mousetrap. So I quite like that as well. I think that's really clever. So this particular copy is from it's called the Peter Rabbit Library. So it's on the back here. And it's actually based on the original and authorised editions. So this is pretty close to, if not the exact right thing. I love Beatrix Potter stories. I think they're just wonderful little things. And I'm really, as I said, really glad that you was able to join us today to enjoy this story. Thank you for coming along to a short but sweet little birthday party for us here at Storytime. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us for a whole year and hopefully going on as well. So from me, Pooh Bear, looking extremely smart, I must say, he does look really smart. For anyone who hasn't seen his uniform before, he wore it a little while ago for World Book Day, the 2021 World Book Day. It comes with a little sword, which is really cute as well. And he is in here, his eyes are under here somewhere, there he is. So, but I thought, you know, all the real guys, they wear their hats quite low, so it just works out so well. But yeah, so thank you for joining us. It was really sweet of you. Hopefully see you next week. So thank you and bye. Say bye, Pooh.